Guys, this is Mr. Joshy J, and this is your review of the Sakhir Grand Prix, Sahara, or whatever it's called. But anyway, what can I say? What an unbelievable Grand Prix that was. Race rating 10 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic. Drama at the start. Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, both going out on the first lap. Charles Leclerc made contact with Perez. Max tried to avoid it, but ended up in the gravel and had nowhere to go. So he crashed into the barriers. That was his race over. But that incident between Leclerc and Perez, I blame Leclerc 100% for that, because just really Leclerc should have gave Perez much more room. But for Perez, it didn't matter in the end, because he's won his first ever Grand Prix. Wow, this F1 season has been fantastic. Possibly the best F1 season since 2012, when we had about 6 or 7 different winners that season. Wow, unbelievable. Gasly's won this year. Now Perez. Wow, it's impressive, These teams taking advantage. If Mercedes are having an off day, what an opportunity for the midfield teams to win a Grand Prix. You've had AlphaTauri win this year, and Racing Point. And Racing Point, of course, based at Silverstone, it's this team's first victory since the Jordan days, back in 2003. Giancarlo Fisichella. Wow, unbelievable. But at the start of the race, George Russell got off the line brilliantly, jumped Sergio Bottas, and before the safety car had come out, George Russell was pulling away from Bottas, absolutely disappearing off into the sunset. But then safety car come out, George Russell nailed the restart. George Russell came into the pits to put on the new fresh set of tyres, come out, and then he said he had no power on the radio. It was just a sensor issue why he had to reset. Of course, George Russell driving the Williams and the Mercedes is completely two different cars, so that's why Bono had to give George Russell advice in the Mercedes, because obviously Russell driving the Mercedes is completely different driving a Williams. So George Russell got the sensors reset again, was looking comfortable out in the lead. But then, of course, Jack Aiken brought out a full safety car, and then Mercedes, with an absolute massive cock-up, messed up George Russell's and Sergio Bottas race. George Russell did well to recover, get out to P2, but then, unfortunately, picked up a puncture. Absolutely devastated I was to George Russell. He was 100% robbed of a race victory. He drove absolutely fantastic, George Russell, but unfortunately for him, just not to be. Had that engine failure. Well, not engine failure, but problem with the engine, but got it reset, then picked up a puncture. Oh, how unlucky. He was well in control in that race, and then Mercedes made that massive schoolboy error, which is such a shame. I'm not going to get on Mercedes back, because usually they're flawless. Everyone is entitled to make a mistake, but that was absolutely heartbreaking for George Russell that Mercedes made that massive error. But this weekend, I really missed Lewis Hamilton. It was so weird, him not being in the paddock and not even out on track, nor on the timesheets at all. It just, in some ways, it didn't seem right. But Toto Wolff gave a promising update yesterday that he took a big step and was feeling much better yesterday. So that's fantastic news for Lewis Hamilton. Hopefully, he'll be back for Abu Dhabi, but he would need, I think, 4 negative tests, and it just depends if he's up to it and if he can get to Abu Dhabi, because they've got strict COVID guidelines in Abu Dhabi, so he may not come back, but anyway, he doesn't. I really hope George Russell gets another opportunity because he was robbed. I mean, Sergio Bottas at the restart was just going backwards after the safety car come in because he had no grip because he was on old tyres. Mercedes completely messed up Sergio Bottas's race. Even though he finished ahead of George Russell, still Bottas was outclassed by Russell in most of that race. George Russell has proved himself why he should be in that Mercedes car in the future. Unbelievable efforts. And after the race, George Russell was absolutely devastated, you know. He was led on the ground in disbelief. I mean, I could absolutely cry for him. I've probably not felt this devastated after an F1 race. The last time I felt this devastated was when Rosberg pipped Hamilton to the title in 2016 by like a point or something. But, you know, heartbreaking. Jack Aiken, solid weekend for him in the Williams this weekend. Did okay. No penalty for George Russell, but Mercedes fined for that massive cock-up. Sebastian Vettel, another disappointing weekend for him. Nowhere in qualifying and really struggled in the race. Really, Ferrari could have done with the points with Leclerc retiring from the race on the first lap. Max Verstappen, how unlucky for him, because he went wide to try and stay out and hold the carnage, got on the gravel, and just unfortunately went into the barriers. But, you know, I believe if he was still in that race, he probably would have won because Max Verstappen, if Mercedes have an off day, Max Verstappen usually takes advantage. But Sergio Perez, get him signed up for Red Bull in 2021 because he needs to be signed up. It'd be absolutely criminal to let Perez go. And Perez, course finishing ahead of Alexander Albon, who had, I don't usually swear in my F1 videos, but he was horse shit in qualifying, Alexander Albon. He really was. P12 and finished P6 in the race, but in the Red Bull he should have finished higher than that. Another disappointing weekend yet again for Alexander Albon. And with Perez now being the Grand Prix winner, surely Perez has secured himself the Red Bull seat for 2021. I really, really hope so, because, you know, Max Verstappen and Perez as teammates could really work out. Really could, you know. Max is fantastic, and so is Sergio Perez. Danny Kvyat was absolutely fantastic this weekend in the AlphaTauri, outperformed Pierre Gasly. And Gasly's been starting the season, but he didn't have the best weekends this weekend, Pierre Gasly. But, you know, yeah. Right. I've spoken a lot about the race. First of all, I gave a driver of the day. My driver of the day, only one person. Well, actually, two drivers, actually. Obviously, on the F1 website, you can only vote for one driver, and I voted for George Russell, driver of the day, 100%. But also, my other driver of the day is Sergio Perez. Absolutely fantastic. Finally, a Grand Prix winner. Racing Point. They deserve this because their car has been very competitive this season. Delighted for Racing Point that they're Grand Prix winners. Of course, on the podium, it was so strange hearing the Mexican national anthem and the British national anthem. But of course, Racing Point are based in Silverstone, so that's why you heard the British national anthem on the podium. But what a great weekend for F1. That was a fantastic Grand Prix. That really was. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Right, let's get on to driver ratings then. Okay, we'll start off with Mercedes as always. George Russell, 10 out of 10. P1 in both of the practice sessions. And was so close to getting pole position, but just pipped by Sergio Bottas. And most of the race outclassed Sergio Bottas on his Mercedes debut weekend. Absolutely unbelievable by the British driver. To come in at such a short notice and drive a championship winning car, unbelievable performance by George Russell, and so unlucky not to win the race. But I'm sure he'll get another opportunity. Surely he's convinced Mercedes now that he deserves a full-time drive in the future. Possibly replace Bottas or Hamilton, because if Hamilton wins number 8 next year, I can see Hamilton calling it a day. But anyway, George Russell's proved himself that he's ready to drive for a top team. Brilliant weekend for the British driver, and so unlucky not to win the race. Valtteri Bottas, 6 out of 10. Good in qualifying, but race got outclassed by his, well, I guess you can say, inexperienced teammate in this race. So George Russell didn't show it, but still, Bottas has got to be doing better, I'm afraid. So, really, a poor getaway off the line again by Bottas. Really got to improve on his starts. Red Bull, Max Verstappen, 5 out of 10. Good in qualifying, just unlucky in the race. And you can only give him a 5, really. Alexander Albon, 0 out of 10. The reason why I'm giving Alexander Albon 0 out of 10, because he was awful in qualifying and only managed to finish P6 in the race when that Red Bull should be near the front. Another horror show of weekends by Alexander Albon in the Red Bull racing. Poor. And surely now he's had his fate sealed. And he will be replaced by Perez, hopefully. I got big respect for Alexander Albon, but at the end of the day, Red Bull want to be fighting Mercedes for championships. They need 2 top drivers, and Alexander Albon just is not delivering, so it's time for him to be replaced. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, 5 out of 10. Great in qualifying, but at fault for the Perez collision, so 3 grid place penalty next race to Charles Leclerc. Well deserved in my opinion. He should have given Perez more room, so 5 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel, 3 out of 10. Another disappointing weekend for the German. The sole remaining Ferrari in the race should have finished higher. Absolutely nowhere in qualifying against Sebastian Vettel. Poor. Absolutely poor. Renault, Daniel Ricciardo, 4 out of 10. I mean, for the first time really this season, outperformed by Esteban Ocon. Not the best weekends the Australian driver this weekend. Disappointing. Esteban Ocon, 10 out of 10. P2 in the race. His best ever position, P2. And Ocon, he's not great in qualifying, but does okay in the races. So P2, what a massive boost to confidence this will be for Esteban Ocon. Absolutely fantastic. McLaren, Carlos Sainz, 9 out of 10. Great weekend for Carlos Sainz. Outperformed Lando Norris all weekend. Lando Norris, 4 out of 10. A really disappointing weekend for the British driver. Poor in qualifying, only P14, and then relegated to the back of the grid because of a penalty. Did well to finish P10, but still, poor weekend for the British driver. Racing points. Sergio Perez, 10 out of 10. Finally, a Grand Prix winner at long last. And he absolutely deserves it. After the disappointment of a week ago, that MG UK failure, and then a week later, the same track, he's a race winner. Unbelievable. Lance Stroll, 10 out of 10. P3 in a race. And a solid weekend for Lance Stroll. And Racing Points have boosted their chances of finishing third in the Constructors Championship, which is absolutely fantastic. AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly, 0 out of 10. Not a great weekend at all. Poor in qualifying and outperformed by Danny Kiat all weekend, and Gasly finished outside of the points, so Really disappointing weekend for the driver who's driving her in the season. Danny Kiat, 10 out of 10. Brilliant weekend. Outperforms Pierre Gasly all weekend and finishing the points as well. Really good weekend for Danny Kiat. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen, 0 out of 10. Awful weekend for the Finnish driver. Poor in qualifying, just not great in the race. Antonio Giovinazzi, 7 out of 10. He is definitely getting better, Antonio Giovinazzi, the last couple races. Performances are definitely improved. A really good weekend for the Italian driver. Haas, Edison Fittipaldi, 10 out of 10. Solid weekend for him. Made no mistakes in the race at all. Even though he finished last, he did very well in that Haas car. Kevin Magnussen, 4 out of 10. Being a disappointing weekend, K-Mag. You felt being the main experienced Haas driver, you would have had a better weekend, but poor by K-Mag. And Williams, Jack Aiken, 10 out of 10. Even though he damaged his front wing in the race, still a solid weekend to him. He almost outqualified Nicholas Latifi, but made a bit of an error going into the last corner. But apart from that, a solid weekend to Jack Aiken. And Nicholas Latifi, 6 out of 10. Not the best of weekends, but did okay, did his job, Nicholas Latifi. So right, team ratings. Now, I'm going to be absolutely honest when I do team ratings and driver ratings. This is just my personal opinion. Mercedes, 0 out of 10. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you've got to be honest. That mistake they made in the pit lane was unforgivable. You know, cost George Russell a race win, and Bottas was on worn tyres and completely mixed up the tyres because they were double stacking. Yes, I know it's big pressure, but to mess up in two drivers' race, this is why you have to give a Mercedes a 0 out of 10. Unforgivable mistake. But like I said, I'm not going to get on their back. But in the race ratings, team ratings, you have to be honest. You know, that they made a massive schoolboy error. So that's why I'm giving them a 0 out of 10. If they didn't make that mistake, it would have been about, 10 out of 10. So just showed when they messed up in two drivers' races is why you have to give them a 0 out of 10. Red Bull, Max Verstappen crashing out, an Albon pouring qualifying. Again, I'm only going to give them a 4 out of 10. Disappointing weekend for Red Bull Racing. Ferrari, 4 out of 10. Leclerc good in qualifying, but crashed out in the race, so 4 out of 10. Renault, 9 out of 10. Disappointing weekend for Ricciardo, but Ocon finishing P2. So that's why you have to give them a high rating. McLaren, 7 out of 10. Sainz, brilliant, but Norris, poor. Racing Point, 10 out of 10. A double podium, P1 and P3 in the race. And a surely sealed P3 in the Constructors Championship. Brilliant weekend for them. AlphaTauri, 7 out of 10. Really good weekend for Kiat, but poor for Gasly. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen, poor, but Giovinazzi good, so 6 out of 10 for them. And Haas, no Roman Grosjean this weekend, but, to be honest, it's still a solid weekend for the Haas team, so 7 out of 10. Good weekends for Fittipaldi, but K-Mag could have done better, but still, Fittipaldi didn't make a mistake, so that's why you have to give Haas a respectable score. And Williams, I'll give them, it's a solid weekend to them, so 7 out of 10. Right, that's team ratings done. Driver ratings done. Let me know your thoughts down below, what you think of this. Wow, a 20-minute video. I recorded a bit longer than what I usually do, because it was such an epic Grand Prix. It deserves a longer race review. But anyway, my driver of the day, George Russell and Sergio Perez. Comment your thoughts down below. I will always reply. And I just want to say big happy birthday to one of my YouTube subscribers, MUFC Racer. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a fantastic day. Even though I commented on your video, I just wanted to say happy birthday to you, like on the video as well. But anyway, what a Grand Prix, an unbelievable weekend for F1. Wow, again this season, just like Monza, an unexpected podium. Perez first, Ocon second, and Stroll third. This is why you got to love F1, because you never ever know what's going to happen. Unbelievable weekends at F1. This is what F1 needs, a mixed up podium. Bye bye.